Tesla stock bulls are celebrating. I'll go through all of today's Tesla stock news, starting with this story that everyone is so excited about. The FSD nag has no reason to exist anymore. Kill it. And Elon says fixed in 12.4. But maybe Elon was just replying to this post. I went up to 10 minutes without nag on FSD. Maybe it's just a fluke and maybe he says it's fixed and now there's going to be nag again. This caused so much confusion, especially because there's an investigation from NHTSA. So how can Tesla remove the nag under investigation when scrutiny is really high? The only way this can happen is if FSD is getting significantly better, even better than what we have today with V12. And we know that 12.4 is indeed quite a bit better based on what Elon Musk is saying. And so Farzad asked Elon, can you confirm that you're talking about the nag being removed and not the bug being fixed, which would put the nag back in? Because if true, it is a pretty big deal. And Elon Musk confirms, yes, the nag will be removed in 12.4. And so everyone in the Tesla community right now is saying this is a very big deal. People are celebrating because it is a huge deal, but you won't know it unless you actually use FSD regularly and you know how annoying the nag is. So I expect analysts and the market generally to completely overlook this news, but to me as a long-term investor in Tesla stock, this is definitely a financially material event, just like it is for Omar. It is solid proof that FSD is certainly, definitely getting better. So Elon is on the roll, laying everyone off, including the nag. And if you like having no nag, like and subscribe. AJ also says it's a big deal. It means Tesla either improved the interior camera driver monitoring enough to see no need for the nag anymore, or feel comfortable enough with the safety profile of FSD to remove the nag. I think personally it's a combination of both, but I think it's mostly about FSD getting better. Elon has been hyping the next FSD version, and I expect it to be significantly better. To me, the most annoying thing about the nag was I could have my hands on a steering wheel and I would still get nags, and I would be paying attention to the road, and I would, let's say, need to do some sort of maneuver and watch my car really carefully, and then bam, the nag comes on. I need to look away from the road, from the most important thing that I need to focus on in the moment, and look at the screen. Oh, it's flashing. Okay, nag. Let me do something about it. It's not like it's a huge deal, but it was so annoying to me, and it definitely made my driving less safe. Overall, it's safe, but it's just not as safe with the nag, at least specifically in my case. Keep in mind that FSD V12 has been released to the public about 2 months ago, and within that time frame, they have managed to remove the beta label and the wheel nag while still ramping up training compute. Super exciting time, and if it feels like something big is happening, it's because it is. In the meantime, Hyundai Motors' joint venture self-driving company Emotional has laid off its employees and postponed plans to commercialize its technology. To which Elon says, it is a very hard problem to solve. And what many analysts fail to understand is that other companies can't just copy Tesla's homework. If you don't have the fleet, you don't have the data. If you don't have the data, you don't have a chance. And having the data does not guarantee success, but having no data absolutely guarantees failure. And Elon says, exactly. If you don't have about 6 million vehicles on the roads right now collecting data for you, you probably have no chance competing with Tesla. Your best hope is to use LiDAR, HD maps, and hope and pray that Tesla is going to be so slow solving FSD that in the meantime, you can create a little business for yourself, and maybe somehow eventually the LiDAR technology can get cheap enough for you to maybe for some period of time have a viable business before Tesla eventually does solve FSD with a pure vision approach, and then eventually puts you out of business. But maybe you can have a decade or 5 years or 3 years or 2 years of a fairly good business. And by a fairly good business, I mean raise billions of dollars, never make any profit, and lose it all. Exactly like Argo AI did. They lost $3.7 billion. And this message goes out to all of the Tesla bears. I'm just kidding. Please ignore everything that I'm saying today. Of course, we are still buying Tesla stock. Nothing to see here, just a car company. No AI, FSD doesn't exist. Robotaxis will never happen. Removing the nag while scrutiny is much higher. NHTSA is investigating Tesla non-stop. That means absolutely nothing. Just like Tesla securing this new $448 million Megapack contract to quadruple the size of this battery in Queensland, Australia, making it the biggest in the state. I mean, so blatantly obvious, this is so bearish for Tesla stock. For example, this is definitely proof that Tesla is struggling. In just last year, Tesla has secured $3 billion worth of new megapack orders in Australia, a country that makes up only 0.3% of the global population. And that $3 billion figure, that's just the orders we know about. Tesla's global energy business is just getting started, and it absolutely is going nowhere. And the reason why FSD will never work is because Tesla does not put FSD into the Cybertruck, which of course is proof that FSD is never going to work. So if Tesla cannot put FSD in such an expensive vehicle, never mind that it is widely different from the rest of the Tesla's fleet, not just because of how it looks, but because of rear wheel steering, which of course definitely does not mess up FSD data. So just because Tesla cannot put FSD in the Cybertrucks, that is obviously proof that Tesla is never going to solve FSD. And perhaps most importantly, how dumb is Tesla trying to deploy new FSD versions to vehicles that could actually turn into robotaxis immediately instead of focusing on Cybertruck, which had pretty much no deliveries. I mean, the robotaxi rides would be so much cooler in Cybertrucks, right? Now, you will be surprised, but some Tesla bears, and actually quite a few of them, actually hold these opinions. Can you believe that? Now, if I did have a Cybertruck and had no FSD, I would be slightly bummed out, but I would fully understand because Tesla needs to focus on the 99% of the fleet, and the Cybertruck rear wheel steering does make it a bit different for FSD when it comes to controlling the vehicle. And here's what the creator of Gmail says about Tesla's FSD. When we bought our Tesla with FSD in 2016, I was skeptical that it would ever fully self-drive, but with the latest updates, it's getting pretty good. Probably at the level of a median Uber driver, and unlike the Uber drivers, it keeps getting better, and it's about to get a whole lot better. My guess is that Elon is currently in the process of betting the company on a massive scale up of robotaxi, pivoting Tesla from selling cars to selling point-to-point transportation. This is the fastest way to 10x revenues while also boosting margins, and obviously requires a very different supercharger strategy, among other things. Bad news for Uber though. Inevitably, FSD will come. It's just a question of exactly which year. Oh, and we're getting some news about FSD in China. FSD tech breaks through challenges for open road testing in China. 8 main districts in a big city in China will be made available to pilot tests of self-driving vehicles from May 1st, so it might already be happening. The regulation doesn't specify the exact level of autonomous driving allowed, but previously permits for up to level 4 autonomy have been granted. Currently, Tesla is looking to get approval to test robotaxi in Shanghai, but needs clearance from Chinese regulators before it can fully roll out FSD and collect the data required to train the software. Obviously, Elon is really focused on Tesla right now, so I would not be surprised at all if he visited China again sometime soon to finish this deal. Tesla is definitely making some moves in China. China is recruiting technical talent, including self-driving software test engineers from its Shanghai data center. And generally, the officials from China are positive about FSD overall. And look what's happening to used Teslas. This could be because of FSD. I have been following used Tesla data, and the number of Model Ys for sale on cars.com has dropped dramatically over the last 5 weeks, 2,000 to 1,400. And for the first time in possibly years, the average price of a used Model Y, according to cargurus.com, has increased over the last 1 to 2 weeks. Of course, it's still a bit early, but James says this is great. Hopefully, we see this broadly in the market. I am optimistic for the US market this quarter. In the meantime, we got more layoffs. Tesla escalates China job cuts with more layoffs this week. I reported yesterday that 80% of Tesla's supercharger team has been laid off in China. So Elon is definitely not done using the chainsaw. And to me personally, it does seem that it's more than just 10% as was initially announced, but if managers were refusing to terminate, then the ongoing layoffs could be just those managers finally doing these layoffs. Initially, it was reported it's over 10%, not exactly 10%. But now it starts to seem it's more like 20, 25, maybe even 30% suggests James. We'll find out eventually, but in the meantime, we can only speculate. Keep in mind, Elon laid off most of Twitter's workforce. And the site is still running. I would expect the stock market to not take this news exactly positively, but it does make sense given the layoffs that Elon Musk is trying to initiate, that some people also would just resign voluntarily. The head of product launches at Tesla is leaving the company after 7 years following the firing of the entire supercharging team, which negatively impacted morale. Among those that perhaps weren't completely all in with Tesla, but those that are deeply committed to Tesla, I don't think morale went down with them. If anything, they got even more urgency to make sure they're doing their part. And specifically in that post, Tesla's former head of product launches says it's hard to see the long game. But think about this. Sounds a lot like all in on autonomy. It's also interesting that he's leaving before Tesla is going to unveil a new product on August 8th, which in the long term could easily be the most consequential product from Tesla so far. And I think this makes a lot of sense. I've worked in large corporate environments for a long time, and one thing I learned is you don't burn bridges when you leave. He is definitely burning a bridge in the way he is going. Leaving and publicly criticizing the former employer speaks much of one's character. James agrees it's not a good look for him. I also saw this rumor about why the supercharger team was laid off. I have nothing to substantiate this with, and it's just someone's opinion, it seems, so I'm not going to read it, but if you do want to pause and read, feel free to pause and read, but I have nothing to confirm this rumor, so be very careful with interpreting this rumor like it's written here. And check this out. Xiaomi co-founder tested Tesla's FSD 2 weeks ago, and now he bought a new Model Y to continue testing it. There's no need for high-precision maps and no LiDAR. It's completely based on pure visual modeling. FSD feels like a human driver. I assume he has a house or place to live in the US, and he bought it in the US, not in China. Elon also just liked this post. I think Elon is pivoting Tesla from selling cars to selling rides, and the resulting value creation will be unlike anything the world has ever seen before. Sawyer is right, removing the nag is a bigger deal than most realize. Omar says people are starting to get it. So if the steering wheel nag is disappearing from FSD 12.4 onwards, does it remain in place with basic autopilot? I'm assuming it does. This may be another big compelling reason to subscribe to FSD or buy it, with something that really differentiates it from basic autopilot. I think it's important to take a step back and just soak everything in. There has been a lot happening in the last few weeks and few months. We are having a massive moment with Tesla's FSD progress right now, yet so few people have any idea that it's even happening unless you got FSD on your vehicle and you experienced it yourself and you experienced the fast progress. FSD V12 was such a huge step change forward. 1.8 million Teslas got a free 30-day FSD trial. Tesla's fleet is now doing 1 billion FSD miles every 2 to 3 months versus 1 billion every 3 years. The steering wheel nag is about to disappear. Tesla is finally no longer compute constrained, allowing them to improve FSD much quicker. The company's compute capacity will increase at least 6 times this year. There's preliminary approval to launch FSD supervised in China, and recently a regulator who was given an FSD ride in Europe was really impressed. These are exciting times, and looking back to this time, it will be obvious that it has been a huge buying opportunity this whole time. It doesn't mean we will not go lower from here, but I believe we will see another major run. And if you look back at 2019, I mean, can you even tell that the stock actually dropped roughly 50% for some period of time? No, you can't even see it because the stock went up so much. So whether you bought the stock right here, then it was quite a bit higher at $23 per share, or somewhere down there for $12 per share, you're happy either way. Of course, you're happier if you bought it at $12, but if you bought it at $22, you're still really thrilled. And think about it, Tesla FSD V12.4 likely to be the first hands-free driver assistance system on city streets with no nag. This feature should be available in all cars with Tesla's FSD hardware 3 or later hardware versions, meaning an 8-year-old Tesla will be capable of hands-free driving almost anywhere with an over-the-air update. Now, GM and Ford offer hands-free driving on select highways, and Mercedes offers hands and eyes-off driving in select highways with very strict conditions being met. No other car maker is offering hands-free driving on city streets. And so far, the V12 release has been quite consequential, but I think Farzad is likely to be right here, although we'll find out. So I'm trying to keep my expectations slightly lower here, but Farzad does say V12.4 might be the most consequential update yet. And I think it actually, when you think about it, just for the reason that you will no longer have the nag, I think it is pretty fair to say that it will be a very consequential update. Morgan Stanley has a new note out. Should Tesla's ongoing restructuring actions be a lesson for other auto companies? Probably yes. Not probably yes. Definitely yes. Except they can't exactly take all of their money and then dump the money into AI because they don't have CEOs that have tremendous experience with AI. Remember that Elon Musk built Grok in a pretty short period of time when people said, oh, what does Elon Musk know about large language models? Well, he knows how to make one. These other automakers, I mean, even if they invested a lot of money in AI, would it really be productive? Or would it just go to waste? Probably it would just go to waste. As Tesla continues to shift incremental capex away from the automotive side of the house and towards the data/computing/learning/robotics side of the house, we see a real chance that the broader industry, legacy players and EV startups alike, will follow. So, expect a lot of wasted money. Argo AI wasted billions, which was backed by Ford and Volkswagen. Hyundai invested $500 million into this Motional, but employees have been laid off and the plans to commercialize have been postponed. So these companies are in this terrible situation where if they try to spend money on AI, something that they have no clue about and how to do, they spend it, they waste it. They don't do it, they will be consumed by this next AI revolution in FSD. With the EV transition, they should have invested earlier and they should have done that sooner because you can sort of, I mean, it's very difficult to do, but you can sort of do it with FSD. AI, it's a whole different thing. Unless you have a man who runs your company who has a track record of doing the impossible over and over and over again, don't bother. Because even for that man, it's really hard to do. And on top of having such a fantastic track record of doing the impossible multiple times, on top of that, he is spending $10 billion a year to solve this problem. So if you're not spending that much, how are you ever going to catch up with him? I'm not telling these companies to give up, but I mean, I respect them trying it. I just don't see how it works out for them. Stephen Mark Ryan just updated his Tesla stock valuation model, and 2024 is here. This is the price of Tesla stock. He didn't include numbers. He does include them on Patreon, but this is what he thinks Tesla stock is going to do. So judging by this, in 20 years, that's definitely a lot more than just 20x or even 30x. He doesn't publish the numbers beyond 2034, by the way, but you can see what he thinks is going to happen. No wonder he has taken out mortgages to buy more Tesla stock earlier. Elon Musk replied to one of the posts here. I would expect, perhaps, there's certainly a high probability that Elon Musk is going to attack some of the brokerages that don't really allow you to vote. Tesla's Martin Vieca says, I know that most brokers in Europe don't allow voting, but some do. Which brokers aren't allowing shareholders to vote? Asks Elon. It does sound a bit like a threat. Don't get surprised if you wake up tomorrow or sometime next week seeing Elon attacking brokerages in Europe or any brokerage that doesn't allow people to vote their shares. Energy Digital has ranked Tesla the #1 energy storage company in the world. The funny thing is, that's not even Tesla's main thing. It's like, okay, FSD, automotive, energy. So it's not even in the top 2 in terms of priorities. There's more drama in the Tesla community, which is sort of expected at this point. Ashok himself admitted, who right now is basically in charge of Tesla's FSD development, under oath in court that Tesla self-driving demo from 2016 had been staged, to which someone replied, you are a short person disguised as a Elon. I'm usually not a fan of insults, but that one was not bad at all. Sad to see former bulls spreading BS like this, says Omar. The Paint It Black video simply demonstrated that Tesla have the hardware to drive themselves. Never did they claim the software was ready to release. The Tesla in that video can run FSD 12 today. It is real. Anyone claiming it is fake or staged is a moron. I don't see much of a point bringing these old things back to today, because you sit in a car, you turn on FSD V12, and it's amazing. And the next version is supposed to be even much more better than that. And the next version is supposed to be on the whole other level, according to Elon Musk. I'm just excited about the progress. The exchange continues. 100% bullish commentary isn't helpful for discourse, as is 100% bearish commentary. I would be really wary of either extreme. I think that's a fair point, by the way. All I said was that Ashok admitted the demo of Autopilot in 2016 was only to show what was possible but had no relation to what they could actually do at the time. Staged implies that it was dishonest or fraudulent instead of just a demo of what was possible with the new hardware. Given today's news, this is a pretty serious statement that is wrong. I agree with that. Ashok has not alleged any fraud or dishonesty. That's quite some news from Neuralink. Successful 100 days with first human implant of Neuralink. Elon does pay some attention to Neuralink, so I think it's important for us to understand what's going on there. And also, this is where the world is going to move towards eventually anyway, so I think it's wise to stay informed about what's going on. So when there are big breakthroughs there, I will definitely report on them. Oh, we got more good news. Some people were skeptical about Elon Musk saying FSD v12.4 is going to be out next week. Maybe that means it's going to be out a few months from now, because Elon sometimes has not been very punctual with his deadlines. But we can see a black Model S and a white Model X today on Chuck Cook's unprotected left turn. And when we see these things happen, always very quickly we get the new FSD version released to the public. So the first wave of the release could be just days away. This next story, I'm going to only keep it about EVs specifically, so don't get triggered if you don't like what you hear here. It's just about EVs. There's a report from Electric which suggests that the former president reportedly told oil executives he will end electric car incentives for $1 billion in donations. However, it seems to me that this is all based on a rumor, which is based on people familiar with the knowledge of a particular meeting. You can pause and read what's rumored here. You have to see this clip. Especially, you got to see the chart that they put on. They actually compare Tesla to GM. This is the CEO of GM, by the way. Take a look.
Elon Musk has mocked traditional automakers for how long it took them to get into EVs. Was he right about that?
You know, if I had a do-over, I would have, even though we were moving, I would have accelerated the pace. You know, hindsight's 20/20.
Tesla stock is up more than 1,300% in the last 10 years. GM is up like 13%. So when you look at the stock, does it ever piss you off?
Yeah, it does.
That's it for today's video. Make sure to click the like button so that we can make sure that there's no shadow ban on this channel. There's another video from my other channel showing that it's only getting about half of the views it would normally get, because my videos are only shown to about 50% of the regular viewers in the first few days. And then after the first 3 days, it does push it out a little bit more, but because it's no longer news, it's old, no one's interested. So I appreciate everyone clicking the like button. That really helps. And going forward, I'm only publishing the full daily news videos on this channel, not on the old channel anymore. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, otherwise YouTube may stop showing you these videos completely. Subscribing sends YouTube a strong signal that this is a channel you want to watch. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's episode.